some people would say sugar can drop to the ethanol parity to 15 cents, and then the mills in Brazil say, oh, hang on, why should I produce sugar? Why should I export sugar when I can do ethanol?
And you get paid in cash in hand next day.
Next day, yes. So for sugar, you need to wait 2-3 weeks, 1 month, whatever. So then this will be, okay, finally maybe make a difference next season. So, okay, we go down to the ethanol floor, demand is coming, and then prices have to recover, right? So this also can happen, right? And then another thing would be what will happen with the Brazilian real, because this has a direct impact on the ethanol floor. Weaker the real is, weaker the New York sugar market,
Yep.
right? So if it's a strong real, and then the Brazilians will produce, let's say, because for them it's important what they get into reals, not in dollars, right? So if the production cost is increasing, which is now about, let's say, roughly 16 to 16.5 cents, okay? But if the real improves to 4 against the dollar, or 3.8, we've seen in the past the real at 2 per dollar, but long time ago. Then, of course, production costs in the most competitive country will jump, will spike, and maybe will reach 18, 19 cents, right? With the ethanol floor.
Yeah.
There is no room to go below that because they will max the ethanol. And we saw in Brazil that it's easier for them to max the ethanol than to max the sugar. Do you know why? Because all the Brazilian industry was built up on ethanol, not on sugar. When the oil crisis in 70s appeared, and then crude oil, the barrel traded at a tremendous value of $2 or $3, whatever, everybody took a decision, say, okay, what can we use from local resources? United States put up a program, Brazil put up a program and said, Brazil, okay, we can have a lot of cane and produce ethanol. So this is the beginning of the Brazilian sugar industry, based 100% of ethanol. Then the liberalization appeared and whatever, and then started to be sugar. But we've seen this year in Brazil, they try to maximize sugar production because sugar paid better than ethanol by 7 cents, 8 cents, whatever, and they didn't manage to do it. Why? It's not only technical things, but it's about the quality of the cane. So it's not how you really want to do it, but it's what you can do with the cane that you have, the quality that you have. So, but on the other side, when they had to maximize ethanol, they went ballistic.
Yeah.
This was like 3-4 years ago. Yeah.
I mean, we'll transition into Rahel. Thank you very much, Claudio. But please feel free to jump in the next questions. Obviously, Rahel, we'll come on to you now. You're an Indian sugar miller yourself. You're an Indian, trader. You're based on the subcontinent. I think one of the big questions for everybody, what's going to happen, with the current crop? I mean, we've just started crushing, a little bit late due to the elections in Maharashtra, but what is your view, on the coming crop? Because obviously, India is a little bit different than Brazil. It ignores the world market sugar futures. It's a fixed price seller. Domestic market is relatively low compared to world market prices. What do you think is going to happen? Could we, how's the crop looking? What's it looking like in UP? How are we looking in Maharashtra? What's going on in Tamil Nadu? How's the monsoon been? What are your thoughts on India? And ultimately, are we going to see any exports?
Thanks, Nick. I think just to add to what you said it's my first year of crushing as a miller, so it's brand new for me.
Man.
So let's see how my
from trader to sugar producer.
Let's see how this journey takes me into the new life.
Yeah.
But anyway, on India, I mean, to summarize India, it's very complicated. I think, as Claudio rightly said, to solve that 1 million ton, you really don't need a market to do it. You need a political will to do it. So India is mainly political now because most of the commodities are under control of the government. Like the rice export was banned, wheat is being banned, molasses exports, sugar exports are being banned. So I think it's very difficult to, you can make a judgment on supply and demand. You can't make a judgment on what the political decision would be. So whatever I say, I mean, if I walk out of this stage and suddenly Indian exports are opened up, don't blame me for saying wrong things. So jokes apart, I mean, let's go. Let's look at how India is looking at. India is having an opening stock of about 7.8 million metric tons, say roughly 8. Our numbers are around 6.5 million tons because we tend to differ a bit from the government. We tend to have a twin balance sheet because that's our research which we do on the ground. So we take 8 as the government stock currently. We take production at around 34.7. So roughly consumption of about 30 million tons. So you have 4.7, out of which you are going to use about 4 million tons into ethanol. So you're going to add about 700,000 tons into the stocks. So if you go purely by the government number, then you have 700,000 tons adding to about 8 million tons.
8 million.
So there is 2 million tons of exports available from the government perspective. You look at mayor's perspective, still you are adding 700,000 tons, so you have about 1.5 million tons to export. So export is there on the window or the door, but when it's going to be issued. We feel Indian government is very efficient. I mean, we are, unlike many other countries where I see the decision comes before the hard numbers are produced. I mean, not critical about Pakistan, but you technically see that on an estimate of 7.5 million tons, they have already released 1.5 million tons. Indian government efficiently works and they look at the hard numbers. I personally feel that around March, we would have our numbers being kind of freeze to around 34.7. And that will be the right time for the government to anticipate. And
they don't want to over-export too early, and then you have a crisis.
You see, we are a better model than Brazil currently. I mean, Brazil has a crystallization capacity. Brazil has an X number of crystallization capacity, X number of ethanol capacity. India has 100% of the crystallization capacity, and we have about 9.5 billion liters of ethanol capacity. So the government can take a decision, a hard decision or a soft decision, to move between them. We are not forced to produce ethanol at 14 cents. We can definitely maximize our sugar at around. So if you look at Brazilian today, they have a 14 cent of ethanol parity. They have about 22 cents of the sugar prices, whereas in India, the sugar is at 14 parity and ethanol is at 22 cent parity.
Right.
So I mean, we are technically a better model than the Brazilians. So I was saying that, just to go back, that March is where I feel the export numbers would come out. And if you start to look at the export parity as the number, I think basis the domestic market, India could export low quality whites at around $470.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's cheap, in comparison today. You know?
But if you go by the waterfall, and you look at how would India exports, so I would say that if world market is at $580 or $570 today, India would export everything as refined, because we have enormous amount of capacities in UP. That could become a poison pill for March, if I have to say that.
Because you could even have deliveries for
Absolutely. So you have the Boulder grain sugar available and refined on the March tape or the May tape, and at $560, it's technically parity to the ethanol prices. Then you have, by the waterfall, you will have the low quality whites, which is at around $480. Raws are the last one because it doesn't pay to what these two girls will pay. So I think to solve Claude's puzzle, that 1 million tons of raws doesn't come out from it. So we end that chapter and we still hunt for that 1 million ton.
I mean, you may have the odd bit of bag raws, but it's gonna, for bulk raws, it looks very, very unlikely.
You see, we'll stop crush around 15th of April.
Yeah.
So if the export numbers comes out and say around end
Well,
of March,
produce them then,
so you can't produce.
You can't even
so
produce them.
you can't sprinkle molasses on them.
Yeah.
So I think I think that take India as March, April as your benchmarking. I would say India ethanol capabilities around 9.5 billion liters. We are already maximizing this year, unless government comes and again shut it down, which I don't think so. Point number 3, on the crop and monsoon, I think the rains have been textbook rainfall for the sugarcane. I'm not talking about pulses and grains here. For the sugarcane,
reservoirs are full.
Absolutely. It was a textbook monsoon. I mean, the dams and the reservoirs are full. Where it was needed, it's there. there is another school of thought which says that there's a land which has been taken out from the system, but I think you have to take the hard numbers of the government, because you can't choose every year to say, okay, this year the number is less because I want to believe in, and next year you say that I want to believe in the government number. So either you be consistent on your deltas of the government number, then you can take your yield and varieties which you went to play with. So I think India, the monsoon has been fantastic. The crop looks good. I think Isha and Uzair has been on the ground, my colleagues, and they feel that that cane is good. There is some recovery on cane being talked in UP.
In terms of the ATR of the cane.
ATR of the cane.
That's the sucrose content.
But what happens is it's just too early. I mean, we're just 10 days, and the winter is about to set in. The moment winter sets in, the day and night temperature produces the sucrose back.
Yeah.
So I mean, what have we done? We have crushed for about 10 days, and there is a whole enormous amount of news coming in. There's a yield which is down in UP, but I think
you don't know
it's just
yet.
too early.
It's too early.
It's just too early days. I mean, Maharashtra haven't crushed at all. So I think we have to give a time till end of December before we come to say, okay, 33 is the right number, 34 is the right number, 32 is the right number. So I think these are the timelines I would say from my end, and I mean it's all about, we can keep debating and questioning.